Dear student, welcome to the session. In this session, we are going to look into object-oriented design. So data encapsulation. First thing is the data encapsulation. What is the meaning of data encapsulation? So you understand what is a data. Data is a piece of information, and encapsulation is encapsulating, making that a particular information or data secured. Okay, that is called as a encapsulation. So one of the important concepts of the object-oriented programming is the data encapsulation. We can capture the data inside the object, and we can keep it private to the object, so it will not be accessible to any other entities. So one example of data encapsulation is car is a object, and in a car, whenever we accelerate, that is a interface is given, that is the accelerator pedal is there. So when we press on that accelerator pedal, we know that car will start accelerating. So the data is hidden from the user. Okay, what is that data? The amount of petrol or the diesel that is getting injected into the engine, it is increasing as you are pressing. It is increasing, but how much is the data, you are not aware of that. So that particular data is encapsulated. That is one example of an encapsulation. Perhaps the most important advantage to object-oriented design is the possibility of the encapsulation, which generally refers to restricting access to an object's internal components. Here, the internal component is the amount of the diesel that is getting injected into the engine when you are accelerating. That particular information is access to that information is restricted. We do not have access to that kind of a information. So any kind of a data, we can make sure that we can set the appropriate access level so that it is restricted from being accessed. Another way of understanding the encapsulation, it is the hiding of an object's implementation details. Okay, so implementation details, that is also another way of putting it. The same example, car example, when we are accelerating, so it is using an internal mechanism and it is making the vehicle to go faster. That complete implementation is hidden from the user. The kind of implementation used by one car company would be different from another car company. For example, Maruti Suzuki, the same accelerator pedal, the user knows whenever we access the press the accelerator pedal, it is going to accelerate. But how the implementation, how it is going to accelerate, it is specific yeah, to that particular implementation. For Maruti Suzuki, there is a one way of doing it. For another car company, there is another way of doing it. That particular implementation has been kept without the access to that information, only interfaces will be given. Properly encapsulated class will define an interface to the word in the form of its public methods and leave its data, that is its properties hidden. So how normally it is implemented is only public methods will be given and internal implementation and the data will be kept hidden. In case of a car example, only users will be given access to the pedal in every car, irrespective of which company makes those cars. Interface, public interface, that accelerator pedal is given. Every driver knows that when it is pressed on that, vehicle will accelerate. Similarly, when they press on the brake pedal, it will stop. The implementation inside is hidden. So in the same way, we can, when we are giving the solution, we can make the data hidden. Okay, data will be inside, and we can give a, if you want to operate on that particular data, we can provide a public methods or the public interfaces which will operate on that particular data. If properly encapsulated, class makes its properties private. Then you need to, how do you access them? Using the getters and setters. So perfectly encapsulated class will have all its attributes as a private. So we will not be able to access those attributes or that data from outside that particular class. So how to access them? We will give the getters and the setters. Getters and the setters are the a set of methods or the functions which are provided. Getters will help us to access the those attributes, and setters will help us to modify those particular attributes. A getter to return a variable's value is often very straightforward and should not modify the a property. So if you provide a method, let us say we had a attribute a first name in the artist. Uh, if you want to make it as a private and you will just give a public method to access it, then you will create a method or the function, public function get first name, okay, empty parenthesis inside the curly braces. You will just return dollar this arrow first name. So you will return the first name data. If anybody wants to access this data, when they create the object of the artist, on that object artist, they will say that particular object variable arrow get first name. So that is how they will get the information. Getter methods modify properties and allow extra logic to be added to prevent the properties from being set to strange values. Similarly, setters can be used to modify the values. This is one example. Public function set birth date, and the birth date has been passed as a parameter. And inside here we are checking dollar date create. So date underscore create is the a method which will take this as a input, string input, and it will create a date time object. So we already learned about the date time object. It will create a date time object, and it will assign to the dollar date variable. If not set, okay, if not set, then what it will do is here is the not, okay, if it the particular date is not passed, then this arrow key birth date is set as this get earliest allowed date. So we are getting some randomly this method is there, get earliest allowed date. So this method will get some allowed date which is in the earlier time, and it is assigned. Else, okay, if very early date, then change it to the earliest allowed date. Suppose the date passed is the older date, dollar date less than this get earliest allowed date. So whatever the date that has been passed, we will check whether it is less than. If that is true, then what we will do, dollar date is equal to we will overwrite that date with the earliest allowed date. Suppose this condition is false, okay, then what we will do is we will set the birth date attribute is equal to whatever the date that is passed to the setter. So basically the setters programs, like you can have any kind of a logic before modifying the particular data. So this is the UML data encapsulation. You can see here minus. We know that this is the name of the class, and next block represents the all the attributes, their data type, and their access level. So here minus represents the private. All these attributes are private members, and the respective data type has been given. And if you see this block where all the getters and setters are mentioned along with the earlier methods that are available with that particular class. One is the constructor artist, okay, and second one is the outputs as table. So we saw this already, this function, and it outputs the information in a kind of a table. That is the function. And if you see, this particular function is a public method, and so are the all the getters. These are the all the getters program. These are the setters. These are the getters for the each of these attribute. So get first name would be there. Similarly, for each attribute, there is a one get method and there is one set method. So get first name and set first name. This is so each of these properties will have one get method and one set method. Get method is used to access the data that is present in that particular attribute, and set method will modify the value of that particular attribute. So if you see the set method, dollar last name, this parameter has been passed, so you are changing the last name. So whatever is the past value, that will be set as the value of that particular attribute. And setter functions, they do not return anything. Return type is void, and the get methods, according to the data type, whatever is the data type, those will return that particular value. For example, first name, it is a string data type. Get first name will return a string. Similarly, you can see the birth date, which is of a data type date, and you will see get birth date. This is get birth date, and it is returning a date type. So here we have one more function, get earliest allowed date. Okay. Here, if you are if you are not making these attributes as public, means if all these are attributes are private, and if you want to access them, then you will say, make the getters and the setters. And if particular data item is internal to the class, then you need not set the getters or the setters, because it is only used inside the class. This is the example. Okay, here is the HTML. Inside that we have the body tags, h2 tester of artist class. Inside here we have the start of the PHP code and end of the PHP code, and we are including another PHP, which is basically another class, artist.class. Include artist.class.php. So first must include the class definition. The artist class definition is present in this particular file, artist.class.php. Now create one instance of the artist class, $Picasso new artist. We are going to call this constructor. We are going to pass this 5 values. Object is created and reference is given to $Picasso. Output some of the fields to test the getters. So now we are going to test. Echo $Picasso get last name. Okay, then we have the dot colon, okay, followed by the semicolon. So we are basically concatenating with a colon. Then echo date underscore format. So this will make the date underscore format will convert this into this particular date, month, and year format. Then we are getting $Picasso get birth date. So it will say the last name, a colon, then afterwards we are going to get the birth date, then dot is a concatenation, concatenating with the string space to space, and then echo date format, date underscore format, $Picasso get death date in this particular format. Okay, concatenating with the HR. Okay, so that will give a horizontal line. HR will give the horizontal line. Create another object. We are creating one more object with the different values. Okay, $Dali, then echo $Dali, that is the object, arrow key get last name. Similarly, we'll get the last name for this, then birth date and the death date. That information is going to be accessed here. Then output method echo $Picasso and output as a table. So all this class is whatever the earlier UML you saw, that class.php has this definition of the class, including all this output as a table implementation, getter, setter, all the implementation. And after that, we include that file so that class definition is available to this particular PHP code, and then we can call the methods. Now we are calling the output method outputs as a table. That information is displayed. So this particular information is displayed as a nice table. Finally, test the static method. Okay, so here you are providing one horizontal line, number of instantiated artists. As we know, this artist count is a static member. Whenever you create the object, its value will get incremented by 1. How many objects we created? We created one object here and another object here. The value would be set as 2. So echo a number of instantiated artist is, it will be given as 2. If you see, when we are accessing dollar get artist count, we are using the, not the object variable, we are using the name of the class, artist colon colon get artist count. So next important property of the important concept of the object oriented language is a inheritance. And what is the inheritance? A class can inherit from the another parent class. By inheriting the parent class, it will automatically inherit the all the public and the protected attributes as well as the methods. So if there is any need for you to create a subclass, then you need not specify all the attributes which the parent has. When you inherit from the certain class, automatically the child class or the subclasses are going to inherit all the properties as well as the methods which are public or protected. Inheritance enables you to create a new PHP classes that reuse, extend, and modify the behavior that is defined in another PHP class. PHP only allows you to inherit from one class at a time. Similar to Java, we can inherit from only one class. We cannot inherit from multiple classes. A class that is inheriting from another class is said to be a subclass or the derived class. So the child class, which is getting inherited from the parent class, that child class is called as a subclass, or even it is called as a derived class. And class that is being inherited from is typically called as a superclass or the base class. So the parent class is called as a superclass or the base class. Child is called as a subclass or the derived class. A PHP class is defined as a subclass by using the extends keyword. So how do we create the subclasses or the derived classes? We use the keyword extends. We say parent, whatever the parent class, okay, this is the syntax. Class is the keyword, this is the parent class. Extends art means we are creating a painting class. This is a child class, this is a child or the derived or the subclass. It extends this art. Art is a parent class or a super class or the base class. So it is extending, and after that it might have its own properties. So it is going to derive all the public and the protected properties, as well as it is going to have its own properties. Referencing the base class, inheritance enables you to create new PHP classes that reuse. Okay, this is the same thing we saw already. Okay, so this is the UML. So when you are specifying the inheritance, you are going to have an arrow like this. So this arrow indicates this painting is a subclass of a superclass art. Okay, so this painting is going to inherit all these properties which are public or protected. And here this is the same. Whatever the class is there, you are going to provide the UML diagram, and whatever the attributes and methods, for that you are going to create another diagram with the painting as the class. Then you are going to specify the arrow which is going from the child class to the parent class. So this indicates that this class is inherited from this parent class. Or just if you want to show it as a just the class name, you can show it like this. It depends on what level of information you want to display. Okay, here $P is equal to new painting. So we are creating a object of painting. $p is equal to new painting and echo $p get name. This, if you see $p arrow get name, this particular method is not in the child class. Child class has only a medium, which is a private member or the private property, and it has two methods, get medium and set medium, which are public. The get name is the public property of the class art, but you have the object of the subclass, and you are trying you will be able to access the parent class, which is a public method. Parent method, which is a public accessible public access level is given. So get name has the public access, so you will be able to access from the child. $p get medium. Okay, $p arrow get medium, this particular get medium is a one of the methods of the subclass itself. So we are able to get access the method from the parent class as well as from its own class, the subclass. Protected access modifier. What is a protected access modifier? In the UML diagram, it is represented with a hash. Plus is public, hash is protected, and this is private. And we are seeing here painting. This subclass is being created from the parent class art. It is going to inherit all the public and protected. That is, it is going to inherit get name, set name, get original name, and set original name. Other private members it is not going to inherit. We have the definition here, class definition. Class painting, that is this, extends art. It is going to extend this art, and it has its own method inside. Private function foo, inside the curly braces, the implementation $w is equal to parent colon colon. So if you are accessing any method from the parent, this is how you will specify. You will specify parent colon colon get name. So this is the get name which is allowed. Then $x is equal to parent colon colon get original. This is also allowed because we can the child class can access the parents protected members also. Then if you see here, $y is equal to parent colon colon init. If you see init, it is a private method of the art. The child is not allowed to access the private members of the parent class. So this access is not allowed. You will get an error for that. So in some other page or some other class, we have definition like this. We have code like this. $p is equal to new painting. We are creating a new object of the painting. So this is a subclass. And $a is equal to new art. We are creating a new object of class art. Neither of these references are allowed. So here uh, $w is equal to $p arrow get original. If you see here, $p is a painting, and it is trying to access the get original, which is protected. Outside the child's class, it is not allowed to access the protected members. That is why it is not allowing it to access. Okay, and here get original and $y is equal to, this is on the child. On the child class, you are calling $p get original. Even though the child, inside the child class, it has access to get original, but outside the class, if you try to access that particular method, it is going to give the error. Similarly, on the parent class itself, they are trying to access the get original. Even that is also not possible. Protected members are not accessible outside, either directly from the parent or through the child case. Okay, even only protected members will be allowed in the child class. You can access the protected members, whether it is a method or a property or attribute. You can access inside the class, but not outside the child class. This is the diagram, UML diagram. You can see Here we know that we can extend only one class. Painting extends the art, means this painting class is created by extending the art. So is the sculpture is created by extending the art. Now these are the attributes here: name, artist, year created. Since all these are private, these are not accessible here. And I have medium. This is the private member attribute. And art print is created by extending the printing. And inside the sculpture we have a attribute weight, which is also a private. Now you can see the abstract class that contains the functionality required by all types of art. So we are creating a abstract class art. Inside that we have the attributes: private dollar name, private dollar artist, private dollar year created. So there might be the constructors and getters, setters, all those things in the abstract class. Class painting extends art. Okay. Private we have the dollar medium. And here you can see this is the assumption that these are all private, and each of these even though it is not shown in the UML, each of these attributes have a get and a set methods. Public function underscore underscore to string. Whenever we try to print this, convert this object to a string, let us say you are echoing or you are printing that particular object, this method will be called. Okay, underscore underscore to string. By internally by default it will be called when this particular class is a child class or the subclass which is extending a art. Similarly, underscore underscore toString implementation is also there in the art class. When inside this function, we are calling the parents a toString. You can see here, return parent colon colon underscore underscore toString, that particular method concatenated with medium colon. So you are just printing the value of the medium. Then concatenated dot dollar this get medium. So you are displaying what the parent has, and also you are displaying what the child has. Sculpture extend class sculpture extends art. We have private member or the attribute dollar weight, and inside the sorry underscore underscore toString function, which is a public function, I am calling the parent toString return parent colon colon underscore underscore toString method. So it will call the parent is art. It is going to call that particular method, and whatever is written from that, it will be concatenated with this text weight colon dot. Dot is concatenation. You are joining with this arrow get weight. So whatever the weight value is set, that weight will be accessed, that data will be accessed dot kg, so many kgs. Okay, you can see here we have created the object dollar Picasso new artist. We have passed all these values. Then we have dollar Guernica new painting, another object is created. And dollar woman, this is a object of type artist. This is the object of type of painting, which is a subclass of artist. And sculpture, dollar woman is a object of type sculpture, which is a child class of a artist. So these are the information that is passed. This is the code h2 paintings. Then dollar $p, this is a paragraph emphasis. Use the underscore underscore string methods. So how that method is called, that is what is being displayed here. Whenever you see, here is the PHP code echo dollar Guernica, that is this particular object. When you call this object, it is going to call underscore underscore toString. Okay, so this method is going to be called, which will get the information of the, it will call the toString method of the parent, and it concatenates with its own values. That is what happens. And for sculptures, it is going to echo $woman. The minute you say echo $woman, it is going to call the toString method of the sculpture. This particular method is going to be called, which in turn will call the toString method of the parent. So next one is the polymorphism. What is a polymorphism? Is taking many forms. Same interface, it can have a different implementation. Same method, different implementation. So that is called as a polymorphism. Polymorphism is the notion that an object can in fact be multiple things at the same time. So one good example of polymorphism is like we have animal is the superclass, and we have mammals and birds as the subclass. Each of these methods, each of these classes have a common method called a digest. Okay, animal has the digest, and I have mammal, and I have the birds. When I call the digest method on mammals, the interface is the only one, digest. The implementation is different. The way the digestion happens in mammals is different. The digest method, when I call on the object of type birds, the implementation is different. The digestion happens in a different way. So that is a polymorphism. You have one interface, but it will have different actions or a different implementation. Another very simple example is, suppose if you are adding two numbers, add, either you can send it as two integers, two double quantities, two floats, or integer and float, float and integer, whatever the combination. Irrespective of what the combination, you will get your value returned as a addition of those two numbers. Consider an instance of a painting object named $Guernica, created as follows. So we are creating this particular $Guernica is the variable, excuse me, new painting. These values are passed. The variable $Guernica is both painting object as well as an art object due to its inheritance. So if you see whether it is a object of type painting, the answer is true. Whether it is an object of type art, answer is true, because it is the parent class. The advantage of polymorphism is that we can manage list of art objects and call the same overridden methods on each. So the advantage here is we can have multiple objects, okay, which are having the overridden methods, overridden, whatever is the parent implementation, child or the subclass is going to override it. Okay, in case of an animal digestion, the mammal is the child of a, or the subclass of the animal. The digest implementation is going to override the whatever is in the animal. Similarly, the bird, the digest method is going to override the parent digest method. So that is how we can achieve the polymorphism. So this is an example. We have created a new object of type artist, $Picasso. Then we have a new object of type painting, which is stored in Guernica. We have a new sculpture, new object of type sculpture, which is stored in $Chicago. Create an array of art. We are creating an array of art. I have a work array. Okay, inside the work array, I have on the first key, I have $Guernica, and the second element as a $Chicago. Okay, to test polymorphism loop through the art array. So you can see here, even though the $Guernica is of type painting and this is of type of sculpture, we are able to save it in the same array. The reason being, even though $Guernica is a painting object, but is also an artist object. Similarly, Chicago is a sculpture object, but it is also an artist object. That's why we are able to store them in an array. Then we will loop through them dollar for each dollar works, that is the array, as dollar art. So it is going to go through each of the element. Echo dollar art. When we say dollar echo dollar art, it is going to call this toString method. Okay, when it calls the toString method, it is going to call the toString method which is present in the Guernica, because that would be the first object, and it loops through. It will come to the next object. On the next object, echo dollar art is going to call the toString method again, but it is going to call the toString method which is available in the dollar Chicago, that is the sculpture class. Add works to artist, any of the class will work. Okay, so dollar Picasso, uh, add work Guernica. So you can see dollar Picasso, Picasso is a new artist, right? It's a object of type artist, but you are able to add these two because they are of the type artist. Then you can see for each dollar Picasso get work as dollar art. Okay, get works as dollar art. When you are going to call this method again, it is going to call the toString method of the parent class. Next is the interfaces. An object interface is a way of defining formal list of methods that class must implement without specifying their implementation. So what is a interface? Interface is going to define a list of methods that a class must implement, but the implementation will not be provided in the interfaces. Only the implementation has to be done by the class who is implementing this particular interface. Interfaces are defined using the interface keyword and look similar to standard PHP classes, except an interface contains no properties and its methods do not have method bodies defined. So interface will not have any kind of a properties or the attributes or the data members. It will have only the methods, and even those methods implementation is not provided. Means what? The body will not be present, only the functions will be specified. Whoever is implementing that interface has to provide the implementation for these functions. And how do we create interfaces? We have the keyword interface space name of the interface, then open curly brace and closing curly brace. Inside that we have all the list of methods without the body, public function get size and semicolon. So there is no implementation provided here. So if any class is going to implement this particular interface, inside its class it will has to give the implementation for the get size method and the get png method. In PHP, a class can be set to implement an interface using the implements keyword. So using implements, we can implement a particular interface. Here is the example: class painting extends art. So the child class or the subclass is the painting, and the parent class is art. It is going to extend all the properties and implements viewable. When you say the implements viewable, inside the class painting, it has to provide the implementation for the get size and the get png methods. This means then that the class painting must provide the implementation for the get size and get png methods. This is the interface example. Interface viewable. Inside that we have two methods which are public, get size and get png. Class painting extends art, implements viewable. Now you are seeing there are two implementation provided for these two methods: public function get png and some kind of a implementation, and public function get size and the implementation. Whatever the code goes in here, it will go in here. So this class painting has given the implementation for get size and the get png. So this is how the UML. You can see here, painting is a subclass of art, movie is a subclass of art, song is a subclass of art, and painting and movie they have implemented viewable. Okay, and movie and song also implemented the playable. Okay, so this method and this method will give implementation for get length, get media, and this class and this class will provide implementation for get size, get png. If you see here, movie has multiple implementation. So even though we can extend only one class, we can implement multiple interfaces. So that is the end of this session.